So today is December 27th, 2012. We're almost on the new year. We're just coming off our Christmas celebration, sitting here at Don and Estelle's house in Monroe Township, and doing a lifetime video with Donald Purdy Miller. So, how are you doing, Don?
I'm doing fine.
Good. Why don't you, just to get us started, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from in the beginning of your life, where you were born, who your parents were,
Okay.
first couple of years of your life. Why don't you just give us a sense of what that was like?
I was born in Grosse Pointe Farms, Michigan on December 1st, 1935. And I was the firstborn son of Alice Loretta Miller and Purdy Miller. That's P-U-R-D-Y. They wanted to name me Purdy also, and I was known as that until I was about in high school when I changed my name to Don, because people would call me Pretty, Prudy, Purty, everything but what it should be.
Okay.
So the first, after we left Grosse Pointe Farms, we moved to Buffalo, New York, where my parents were from originally, and we had a huge three-story house there, and all of our relatives would gather every weekend to play cards at my aunt's house in Grand Island, New York.
How old were you when you moved to Buffalo?
I was 3 years old, and we first lived in an apartment building, and this was during World War II. My father was an air raid warden, so I remember him going around telling everybody they had to turn out their lights because the Japanese and Germans would attack us if they saw lights on.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you know?
They met in the neighborhood where they lived. My father met her when she was in her mid-20s, and they seemed to delay things. He was transferred to Detroit and then finally came back to Buffalo, and they were married. And he was already like 34 years old when they got married, so he knew her a long time because they lived in the same neighborhood, but they didn't get married right away.
Okay, and after they got married, did they have their first child right away, or?
I was born in 1935, and they got married April of 34.
So pretty much right away then.
Yeah.
You got married and decided to have a
Yeah.
family. And so after your third year, you moved to Buffalo, and that's where a lot of your family was, or?
Yeah, I had aunts and uncles there, and my father's friends, my mother's friends, were all located really in Buffalo.
What are some of your first memories of Buffalo? Any family activities or trips or vacations or anything like that?
Yeah, we used to go always to Grand Island, New York, which is in between Buffalo and Niagara Falls. And I remember going to Niagara Falls, it seems like almost every weekend, but it probably was more like twice or three times a year. And sometimes I would go with my father, who was a salesman, and he would call on chemical factories and areas such as Northrop Air and Grumman Aircraft Company.
What was he selling?
He sold what they call mechanical rubber goods. These are timing belts and V-belts, things that went into airplanes, things that went into cars. And most of those companies would buy them. In the summer when I was not in school, I would go with him and make the rounds of various factories.
And so it seems like a different lifetime ago where you would do that, because I can't ever imagine bringing my child along on a sales call.
I know.
So what was that like when you went on the sales calls?